What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So today we are going to talk about some good news, and that good news is that Congress is back. This means that they can finally get something done in this lame duck session. I want to address what Democrats' plans are for this lame duck session. We're also going to talk about, kind of their plan moving forward, what Nancy Pelosi wants to do, and also want to give you a little bit of a warning regarding 10 years of high inflation. What's going on there and what we can do to prepare for this. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. But let's begin. First, here's what I can tell you. Congress is back starting today. This means they can start working for their their goals for the rest of the year. They only have a few weeks. That is it. They are going to take a week off for Thanksgiving. We know that. They always do it, right? They do not have a lot of time. They have to get things done soon. Now, here's what I can tell you. What are their plans? What is their list of items that they want to get done? Well, first one is reaching a government funding agreement. This is their first order of business. Here's the reason why. We only have about a month. We got about 1 month left, and then our government funding will run out. It will expire. That's when the continuing resolution is up. So they have to get that done. Also, reauthorizing the Defense Department. That's a big one. Passing major election overhaul measures. That's one of their goals. We've heard that multiple times, but they've struggled to get it done. Codifying federal recognition of same-sex marriage. That's another one. Voting on nominations. Again, that's a big one. And here's the thing. These nominations, they come through the Senate. And so right now, guess what? The Senate is going to be controlled by Democrats moving forward, which means if they don't get all the nominations through, they can do it in 2023. So that's not as big of a deal. The next one, the House, the January 6th committee, they want to wrap up their work before it dissolves, which means by the end of this year, right? So those are some of the things that they want to do. And even Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, he said just this morning, and I quote, "All I can tell you is that we are going to try to have as productive a lame duck session as possible." And he says that means be long hours and some heavy work to do. Now, here's what I can tell you. Yes, we have to have long hours. But if we see the Senate leaving early, days early, here's the problem. They're not going to get everything done. But the issue isn't with the Senate. The issue will be with the House. But Democrats know that they don't have a lot of time left. This is why even Speaker Nancy Pelosi said just this morning that the Democrats' plan is to extend the federal debt ceiling during the lame duck session of Congress. And she said this because she is very specific on this. They cannot wait for a potential fight with Republicans. Now, why would she talk about this potential fight? It's actually pretty simple. The reason she's saying this is because as of right now, there's a very high possibility that Republicans will take control of the House of Representatives. Democrats we already know this, they will control the Senate with at least 50 votes, possibly 51 once the Georgia Senate runoff is done on December 6th. So we'll have more news on that within the next 3 weeks. But if Republicans take control of the House, then Nancy Pelosi knows and Democrats know it would be much harder to pass anything as far as the debt ceiling increase if the House is run by Republicans and the Senate is run by Democrats. So they have to get that done during this lame duck session. Now, we're going to get a lot of updates over the next probably 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. We'll get a lot of updates as to what is going to happen. We're going to get a lot of Democrats pushing to get certain bills passed quickly. And the reason for that is simple and exactly what we saw back in 2020 is when we know there's going to be a change, whether it's the president whether it's one of the houses, right? When we know there's going to be a change, we see that party that's in charge push all their legislation. So we could see very soon that Democrats are pushing for the child tax credit payments, because again, if it's split between Democrats and Republicans in the Senate and the House, the issue is things like that are not going to be as easy to pass. So the child tax credit payments, we know that's something that both parties support, but how they receive those funds, that's the big issue. We might see something for Social Security. I doubt it at this time, but we could. This would be the time to do it. We could also see, we might see a push for, student debt, student loan forgiveness. If we don't see this get pushed through, and as of right now, it's still being held up in the courts, this could be something that President Biden pushes over to Congress. And whether or not they pass it, well, it's really up to them. I don't think they would, but they possibly could. So we'll see what happens there. The next thing, 10 years of high inflation. What does this mean? Why would we have 10 years of high inflation? Well, according to history and multiple reports, once we have inflation that tops 8%, which we have had here in the U.S., then it takes 10 years on average, that's the median time, 10 years to get inflation back under control and under 3%. Remember, the Federal Reserve wants inflation to be around 2 to 3%. So getting under 3% is a huge, huge deal. Now, this news is very troubling for the simple fact that the Federal Reserve has been kind of behind the 8 ball. They've been behind on bringing down inflation. They should have been working on this long ago. However, they haven't. We have had inflation up over 6% for more than a year. We've also had inflation over 8% for 7 months. We are finally back under 8%. That is good. But we could also have a turnaround and go back up. That's what many are worried about. The expectation, though, is that inflation is going to go down slowly, and in order to get it back down under 3%, it could take years. Maybe not 10 years, but it could take a handful of years. Here's the reason I bring this up. I was reading a comment from somebody a couple of days ago, and they said that inflation cannot stay high. It will be under 3 or 2% fairly soon, because if we keep seeing decreases in inflation by 0.2%, 0.4%, or last month 0.5%, it's going to happen fairly quickly. Because if it only takes us 2 months to go down 1%, we will be under that 2% mark in a matter of no time. It will happen in 2023. Well, here's the thing, and here's the facts. The facts are, as we get closer to that 3% mark, we are not going to see big jumps like a 0.5% movement in inflation. It's going to be something like 0.1, 0.2%. That's what we're going to see. And I bring this up because it was the exact same thing we saw when it came to unemployment. When we had unemployment up to 14%. Then it dropped, and we saw it from 14 go to, and I could be wrong here, was like 11% or 12%, and it dropped significantly. But as we got closer to that 6%, we didn't see a big jump as a total of 2 percentage points. It was like a quarter, 0.2, 0.4, 0.6. Those are the declines that we saw. So that is more realistic. Now, why is that so important? It's important because we need to expect to pay a little bit more every month for all these items. It's going to take some time before we see inflation really go down and get to that 2% mark. All right? And I brought this up before, and I know a lot of people are asking, well, if inflation drops to 3%, that means we're saving money, right? Well, yes and no. We're not paying as much, but at the same time, prices are still going up. That's what I want you to keep in mind. That inflation means prices are still going up. Deflation means it's going down. All right? I don't know if we're going to have deflation. We are likely to have disinflation. And there's a difference. Deflation means, let's say, you had $100 or your item costs $100, right? Let's say my GoPro here costs $100. Awesome. Well, if that costs $100, great. But deflation would be, now it doesn't cost $100. Now I'm only selling it for $99 or $95. Disinflation would mean it was a $100 item. I'm now selling it for $110, which would be inflation. Disinflation means now, let's say I'm selling it for $105, which means it is coming down about $5 or 5%. So that is disinflation. I know a lot of people get inflation and deflation, and those are the only two, but there is disinflation, all right? And that is something that we are likely to see. So we do have some good news over the next couple of months. That will be Congress is now, technically back. They will hopefully be working on some of these things. Hopefully we don't have a lot of issues, but we will see. As long as they get some legislation done and it's good for the economy, that is great. That is what I think we all want to see. So that's what we know at this time. As always, as I know more, I promise, I'll come back on, share all latest news and updates again. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.